don't know. I know there's different ones for different days. Right, where it's like just the.
Morning, Marge.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Fine.
This has another meeting in progress. For all one.
There is one above it.
Things you did. That's the one we just tried. What day she sent it?
Yesterday.
Oh, you want one from yesterday?
He said yesterday. Really? I mean, I was supposed to.
Last night.
846. Oh.
Hi, Janet.
It came through last night.
Oh, good morning.
The link.
Thank
you. Yes, I just didn't know.
I don't do this.
My
one.
phone only keeps emails for like 30 days and then they drop off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just came through last night.
I'm muted. Prints all.
Here, this?
It's right here.
Oh. And eventually you get a full script.
We're not doing ribbon today.
When will the ribbon, when will the wreath be done? Like, starting to show?
Close to the end.
All right, I'll do some more.
Karen, when do you leave?
2 weeks.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Anybody sitting around here? No, you're already.
Okay.
There's not much to move.
Marnie's online.
Marjorie?
I give you this one, but I
assume
will
she's
have
coming.
yours completed before well, by this weekend.
Okay, that's fine.
Because we keep changing things on
Okay.
this. We're kind of going as we go with
Yeah.
you,
Yeah, that's all good.
but I want to write it all down anyway.
That would be good. That would be
You
helpful.
know what I mean?
The one I can't.
Yeah.
here, and I, you know, it's easy to forget.
There's that.
Okay.
I want to ask you some questions after class.
I'm getting
Her, go ahead.
Just get that.
Which stitch?
I can't see the phone.
Then do, or do a balloon.
Yeah.
Do a balloon,
So you can do the same thing. I didn't, well, I covered up. But.
She showed it to me, I'll show it to you.
But I cut all those Williams out. and I got it better. Yeah, yeah. There's certain features. that
I have never
not
thought
wanted
of
to
it.
do.
I never cared. I have.
Right, this one,
I have ripped so much
I have never.
in the last year.
I have never.
I usually say yeah, that's what they're gonna do.
So what you're saying is we're actually challenging you?
I would just.
So- Good morning, Esther.
Morning.
How are you this morning? Good morning, Jessica.
Oh, here, yeah,
You ready?
right, it's this thing here.
Let me move this out of the way. I don't know why this does that.
Some things that- Whoa.
And all show and tell.
Covers the whole thing, and then you're approaching on the other stuff. You might want to make the red and white,
And I'm gonna pin,
because that's on the red and white.
okay.
I would come over on this screen. That's what they have as well.
Okay, let's get started. Good morning, everyone. How was everybody? Did everybody have a nice holiday?
Yes.
Cool. Jessica, you in a car?
I am. I'm waiting for the kids at swim team.
Oh, okay. All right. So today we are going to go over the presents, but in addition to the presents, we'll give you some information on beading because there is some beading in the front. A couple of housekeeping things before we get started. Next week, we are only going to have a class on Thursday because we have a big event going on in the store. Madeline Tosh is coming, not Madeline herself, but Madeline Tosh music mobile. And I love the fact that Jessica's actually working on her piece in the car. God bless you. So last night you received information on the presents, and you also received a document with beading. Okay, we'll start with the one on the presents first, and we'll move over to the beading. And we should be good to go. So let's get started.
No, but that's okay.
We'll,
Marjorie, you're not in the store.
correct.
No, I had some work to do with the contractors today, so I can't take the time to go.
I love your office.
I know.
I have a little office envy right now.
Yeah, I have all my needle points and sewing stuff in those big drawers.
Oh my God, I love it. All right, so, you have this?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna let Andrea take over because, yes, okay, all right.
Okay, so we're gonna start with the presents on the front, bottom left. So we're gonna work from left to right with the presents. So the,
And you can put it down there. Okay.
okay, so the present number one, far left, is all red. And then we'll put a bow on it later. So you're just gonna square that off. And you're gonna work that in the alternating double nobuku.
Which is probably easier to see on your picture than it is actually here, because it is all red.
It gives a nice, pretty woven look to it. So it's a pretty stitch. One of my favorites. And present number two is the tall puppy next to it. And this is easier than it looks because it's just repeating stitches of continental and slanted goblin over two. So just pick whatever greens and reds and whites and whatever you want to work it in. Shiny, not shiny, sparkly. And you're just gonna, you've got a continental, you've got a slanted goblin, then you've got three more continentals, you've got a
Slanted goblin,
slanted,
and
yeah.
then continental, slanted, 1, 2, 3, 4 continentals. Nope, 1 continental, it looks like, yeah, 4 continentals, slanted, continental, slanted, continental, continental.
And when you work that one, go ahead and work number one on the back. If you look at the back, number one on the back is the same present. So you could either do it the same or you could mix it up and do it a little bit different. Working from left to right on both.
Okay.
Yeah. So number one on the back and number two on the front are the same. But like I said, you're welcome to mix those up, make them different. Yep. Number 3 is the lime green. And it is in a reversing scotch. And in the middle of your scotch, you're going to, if you would like to, add a sequin and a bead. And I will go over the bead and sequin routine in just a few minutes. And we'll put a red bow, or depending on how you do it, you might do white in the middle, and then we put a white bow on there. Present number 4, which is the large package in the back, the big red one. And it is an alternating cashmere stitch with some continental. So there's some continental between each of the cashmeres. Then moving down.
Excuse me, Andrea, could you say which package again? Could you show which package on the picture?
The one in the very back, the big red one. It's more of a burgundy color. On yours, it's.
Can you see where my thumb is, my finger is? That's not a thumb.
It's the one in the back that has the big green bow with the white stripes. But you're gonna stitch over the bow, and you can keep the stripe, stripes if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you'll just stitch over the, and then in this one, you're also gonna stitch over the bow.
Well, and all of them.
Yeah, you're gonna stitch over the bows, finishing out the packages in the stitch. So just square off the packages. Cheryl, you look perplexed.
That's because I'm keeping some of my bows, and so I'm not.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so Janet, I'm gonna review real quick. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Is that one? The little one, 4?
It's not. It's number 5 in the front.
Oh, number 4 is in the back. Number 5 is down the bottom. 6, 7. And you know what? I'll take a picture of this and I'll put numbers on them and I'll send it off in an email.
On package number 1, were we supposed to, when we're doing the bottom of the coat, go over that holly or no?
Yes, and that becomes a bow.
Okay, but we should do the bottom of the coat over that, over the holly,
Yes.
like we've done some other places. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is that number 1 right there.
Yeah.
And she went down
Okay.
on the coat. Okay. All right.
So present number 5, the small present in the front, is just a diagonal mosaic. Then present number 6 is the green and red one here on the front. And it is worked in the stitch. It's a double tied oblong. And in the middle, you could either run bead. I didn't go with bead. I just went with a metallic, a green metallic. For my straight, the ones across the oblong cross are just a metallic thread. And then instead of beading that middle portion, I just put in, it's probably a red, I think it's the red pepper pot. Again, you guys could put a bead in there if you like. Then present number 7 on the far right, cute little thing, is done in a lime green and white Byzantine stripe.
So with your Byzantine, the lime green is actually the Byzantine and the stripe is actually like a tent.
Tent or beads, whichever you want to work it. Then going back to the back, the one on the front is done like number 2 on the front. Present number 2 is continental. Just a little continental in there. And I just did crisscrosses for the squares that are in there. So it's just a continental and then just some crisscrosses. Then present 3 on the back is the green and white one. And I actually did that one in herringbone. So I did the green and a large herringbone, and then I just did a goblin over the white.
The one underneath, the one that's right here,
That's his tassel.
it's part of his tassel.
Then you have the one in the front. I'm sorry.
And you just go over the bows, right?
Yes.
Okay. Like the front.
And then the one up front in his hand is just alternating slanted goblins.
The red and white one?
Yeah, red and, yeah, I did them in red and green.
Above his mitten.
Yeah.
I redid that one last night, figured it
Yeah.
out really quick, but I didn't do this. What is this
We're
one?
gonna beat that one. We'll get to that in a second.
Okay, so any questions on the presents in regards to what you're doing? You're going over all the bows if you're choosing to put ribbon on the bow. So you're just gonna square them out. Hi, Alice.
Good morning. Sorry I'm late. I got on the wrong
Right,
day.
any questions?
Andrea,
No,
just real
no.
quick, presents on the back. The first big one was what, up and down, just continental stitches?
It's the same as number
It's-
2 on the back.
It's named number 2 on the front.
Okay,
Number 2 on the front.
okay, and number 3, the little one with the squares?
It's just an alternating mode, is that what you're on?
That's the herringbone.
That's
this
the
one
one
here.
Oh, the one in the middle?
Yeah, the one in the middle. I got
Oh,
the
it's
last one.
just continental with crisscrosses for the whites,
Okay.
just like a Smyrna cross. Set my phone.
Sorry. Oh my goodness. Okay. Any questions on the presents?
I just have a question on number 6. If you decide not to do the beads and you do the pepper pot, would you do a French knot there?
You could,
Yes.
absolutely, that would be really pretty.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's talk a little beading, because you do have some within this, what you'll have some on number 3 if you choose to. And there's a candy cane up front. So go for it.
Okay, so beading. If any of you are members of A&G, in this month's magazine is an article in the Basics and Beyond section of beading. And I had worked on Saturday and Sunday on this part of what I was doing. And then I read this Monday and it was like, well, dang, she just had all my notes. So it really is a great article because it's gonna, but I'll give you a quick snapshot of what's in it. We'll just go quickly. When you're tying off your beads, you need to start with, let's go back, start with some beading thread. And what you're gonna do is you want to double the length that you're going to do. Because you're gonna double it, because you're gonna run 2 strands through your beads. You want a really long piece. But what you need to do is you need to stretch it.
And why are we stretching it?
And you're stretching it, number 1, to get the curls out. And number 2 is because as you're stitching it, if you don't get the stretchy out, your beads can end up loose because it will stretch while it's in there. Or if you pull on it or something, it's gonna stretch. So you've gotta get this little bit of the stretchy out to make it stronger. Then you're going to, this is the part I can't see. So we're just gonna go with the already done. Okay, so then you've got,
For purposes of this, we're showing you a thread that we normally would not use on a bead.
okay, so then you're gonna take both ends of your beading thread and you're gonna run them through the eye. And that doubles your thread. And I meant to do this, but there it goes. I'll show you how to attach it to the back. So you don't knot it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do a loop tie.
Did you say you took 2 threads through the eye?
Yes.
Or you can double it and you've got a loop. And you can actually take that loop and run it through the eye.
Okay.
usually.
So it's almost as if there are two threads through it.
Yes, you want two threads through your needle. So you've got a loop.
And if you're using beading thread, you do not need to wax it because it is already waxed.
Okay, so if you look at your beading info, beading sizes vary by company. And they come anywhere for 18 count, you want to use a size 14 or 15. If you're on a 13 count, you want to use a size 11 bead most of the time.
There's always exceptions to the
Yes.
rule.
There are several companies and they're all different. You've got the Mayukis, which are more expensive, but they're more uniform and the holes are larger. But you also don't have as many color options as you do from the seed beads, like the Mill Hill or the Sundance. You've got a lot more varied colors in those. But the centers can be a little more off. They're not as uniform. Then you've got bugle beads, which are cylinders. And you have to be really careful because the edges of the bugle beads are sharp. So you actually have to do 2 passes through a bugle bead. And instead of pulling up to tighten it, you're going to pull out in the direction that your needle was going and then go down. Because if you pull it up, the edge of the bugle bead can snap your thread.
Did we get bugle beads?
No,
It's just
information.
just information. Then your thread. In your kit, you got red, white, and green beading thread.
Right.
Beading thread already comes conditioned, already waxed. You can also use DMC floss, anything that's strandable, Planet Earth, Mandarin, Splendor, any of those that are strandable, you could use 1 or 2, usually one thread. But when you do that, you have to condition it. It needs a waxy coat on it. And then there's some thread magic you can use, or you can run it through a wheel of beeswax, and that conditions it. It makes it stronger. It also keeps it from getting as tangly on the back. So those are the 2 that you could use to condition a thread if you didn't use already done beading thread.
Oh.
Now to secure it, you want it to be about 18 inches long. So you're going to double it. Then you're going to run it through a place on the back of your canvas that you've already stitched. And you're just going to go through it. And then that little loop that you've got at the end of your doubled up thread, you're just going to pull your needle and your thread through it. And you are tied off. It is secured without knots, because if you run it through twice, it can still come loose because of the quality, because of the texture of the thread. So this is the most secure way to secure a beading thread. Okay, when you end it, there are 2 ways you can end it. You can either end it tightly underneath strands, or you can pull one of them out, separate them, tie a knot, put them back together, and then run them underneath threads, and then cut off the rest of the tail. So yes, yeah.
So you knotted at the base of where, right at the top.
Yeah, so those are that's securing and starting. Now, when you go to put on a bead, I need my glasses back. We're going to run it up. And you're just, well, there are several different stitches. And I'm going to use a size 8 bead.
For demonstration purposes.
And I can tell you that having a tacky mat helps hold your beads in place.
And you all got one in your kit.
I have dropped this on the floor and not lost any beads. So they really do work. They also make it easier to pick up your bead. So you come up through the canvas, through the bead, down, then you go back through the canvas, catty corner. I'll show you in a second. And so there you go. The bead actually lays in the opposite direction of where your stitch goes. So if you're stitching from left to right, your bead is going to turn to the left. And if you stitch the other way, it's going to turn your bead the other way, just depending on how you want your bead turned. If you want your bead up and down, then you do a cross stitch in it. Now to secure your bead. It's called lassoing. So you're going to come back up into the first hole that you came up through to do your bead. I found the easiest way is to put my finger through the 2 threads, put my fingernail on the bead, and then run my needle back down through hole number 2, not through the bead. You're wanting these 2 to go around the bead. And that helps secure the bead. Are we good? Questions? Okay, there are several different beading stitches. You can do your basket weave stitch, like you would do a normal basket weave stitch, and you would pick up a bead with your stitch. You can also do a continental stitch. You're going to start on the right, work your way to the left. Then you're going to bring your thread all the way back to the right, because you're going to always go from the right to the left. And when you stitch over that thread that you brought back around, it helps secure your beading thread and makes your beads stay in tighter. Then the brick stitch. The brick stitches work like a brick, and it's over 2 holes. That is recommended mostly for size 8 beads because you get a lot more coverage. The continental and the basket weave stitches leave your beads sitting on top of the cross of the canvas. The brick stitch actually leaves your beads sitting inside, just slightly down in the hole. Now what we're going to do on Santa, this candy cane in Santa's hand is actually, oh, let me go back, one more thing. When you're doing a string of continental or basket weave, you want to lasso the first and the last bead on that row. Then you want to do 2 or 3 in between there. So you want to catch every 3rd bead that you want to lasso to secure them. That way, if you lose a bead or it breaks at any point, you're not going to lose all your beads. You may just lose one. So you don't have to lasso everyone because that is very time consuming. You just need to lasso every few. When you get to the strum beads, which is what we're going to do on Santa's candy cane, you're just going to come up through the candy cane.
Show that one. There's your candy cane on front.
Here it is. You're just going to do a row of white beads. You're going to bring the beads up. You're going to get as many beads as you need to cover that area. You're just going to string them together. So you just kind of lay it down to see if you need more or less.
In one row.
Yes, and that's the other reason to do the double threads through your eye, is because if you do it the other way, then you have to then cut the needle off your beading thread to take the beads off. Then you get into a little bit of trouble. And then you're just going to take some white, however many you need. I think the most I did from in the white here in the middle was like 12 beads in the middle. So you just cover the area, then you come back down through the canvas, then you actually come back up and run through it a second time as if it were a bugle bead for the extra security. And you just run those through, just string them and secure them. And that is your that's that candy cane. Questions? If you did the beads on the ornaments, I know I did not tell you about the lassoing last week because I knew I was going to be going over it, but you could go back and lasso any of those. If you did any beads on the ornaments, you could go back and lasso those just for added security.
Because I didn't lasso them, so you're supposed to?
You should, yes, yes. That's easy enough to go back and and add. So yes, so that is beading in a nutshell.
Huh?
There are different size beads. You've got 8s, 11s, and 14s.
They got,
yes.
but you didn't get 8s.
No, no.
So the 8s is not for this canvas, we just showed you what an 8 looked like.
So we got a 14 or 15 size bead.
Yes,
yes,
yes. There are various types of beading needles. For like a size 8, you can actually use a number 28 tapestry needle. It is large enough to fit through a size 8 bead.
Or 11.
Or some 11s, depending on the company. The 14s and 15s, you have to go with the beading needle. Bowen has the largest eye in their needle, and it does make it easier to get the 2 threads through those. You can also, for any of you that are quilters, there is a threader, a little silver threader with a little wire prongy on the end. It does also fit into beading needles if you really need help, but usually only 1 thread at a time.
So what size needle for the 18 canvas and the Bowen needles?
A size 10 in a beading needle, or a 28 in a tapestry needle.
I got a tulip size 10,
Yep,
but I
you're
didn't
good
know
then.
the eyes were bigger on the Bowen though than on the tulip.
I actually, yeah.
No, that's what I got. But are they bigger on the Bowen than the tulip needles?
I think they're about the same.
And then I'm,
Yeah. So yes, so those are, and the beading needles come in long ones, as you can see, very, very long. And then they also come in short. The shorter ones are a little bit easier to maneuver, but please be careful because the points are very sharp.
Speaking from experience.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
speaking from
Yes.
experience. I just finished Nancy Cucci's beading thingy, and I can't tell you how many times yeah, not fun. So yes, questions?
You're also quiet.
too much info.
So I did just one thing. I've done a lot of beading, but I've never done what you said about finishing a row and going back
Right.
and starting over. So what's the benefit of that? Just making it stronger?
Just making it stronger.
Okay.
Yes, and if you've done a lot of the pin tucks along the
Mhm.
way, then you're probably fine.
No, I probably didn't do that.
But yeah, because you could also either lasso and then you could do various,
Yeah,
if you're
okay.
running along a road like
Mhm.
tent or goblin, you could always just do a little pin, little tucker up and around it, and then keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
like
just run
not
to the
lasso
right.
it, different, a pin is pin tuck is different than lasso?
Yeah, the pin is where you just take it from underneath, like you're tying it off, and you're just
Okay.
doing one little quick stitch underneath,
Okay.
just for that added security of
Right.
holding that beading thread in place.
Okay.
Yes. Or just run it across the back and then just keep stitching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Just added security. That's my fear, to put all that work into beading
Yeah.
and have them fall off.
That would happen to me. So, any questions? All right, so this video will be up online. Oh, do you want to go over the last one?
This is the last one.
Oh, no, when you do the sequence, you were doing sequence.
Oh, sequence.
Oh, wait,
Oh.
don't go anywhere.
Sequence.
She's gonna do a sequin
I don't
with
have
a bead.
sequence. Okay, I know we went through this last week, but we'll do it again. Okay, we're gonna take the sequin. Again, they work well on the pad. I'm gonna bring my thread up through. I'm gonna pick up a sequin and then just kind of pull it on down to the canvas. So there's your canvas with your thread. Then you're gonna just pick up a bead. Well, it's not gonna fit on that one. I'll do an 8. Too big of a needle. You run your bead through. Now, before you go back down, you're not gonna go through the bead. You're just gonna go through this sequin and run it back down. And it's gonna sit right there next to the sequin, next to the bead, but it's gonna go through and it secures the sequin down.
And then you don't do any extra added
Lasso.
No, you lasso.
But you've lassoed that already.
Yeah, so yes, so that's, yes. Okay,
Okay,
that's how you add on the sequins.
Michelle,
yeah,
before you leave, I have a question on using the whisper thread on the coat or wherever. Are you using a whole lot of whisper? Because when I did it on one section of the coat, it just seemed like I could see the thread too much and not the fuzzy, you know, how the thread's kind of bare.
did you put the essentials down first?
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't use very much whisper, I only used enough to give it a little bit of texture.
Okay.
But I used it randomly, but if you want it fuzzier, you can use as much as you want.
Okay. All right.
Are you gonna need more, honey?
That's okay. I can get some, but I just didn't like the way it looked. Maybe I just wasn't, maybe I didn't put enough to.
You
To give
probably
it-
want more. And believe me, everybody is different. Everybody is different and everybody likes theirs just a little bit differently. So if you want more, you go for as much as you want on there,
Okay. All right.
okay? Okay, so we are done. I guess I'll go on, okay? We're done and this will be online this afternoon at some point. Okay, and share your progress on the Facebook page. I'd love to see them, or send me a text. I know a couple of you have asked for some more thread and that's fine, and I will get that out to you. So we're good to go. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Underestimated graphics.
That's all right, don't worry about it. You're good.
Okay, Karen, you wanna